Hi, this is Tammy from Singles Travel International, and tonight I am so excited to present with our partners in South Africa, Singles Travel International, Cape Town, Winelands, and Safari Adventure in November. I'm here tonight with Gordon Turner. And Gordon, welcome.
Hey guys, Tammy, good evening. Good to be here. Nice to see you again. It's been, geez, it feels like so long after the last 2 years and or 3 years. Is it 2 years or three? I've forgotten. So it's nice to be back on the road again, doing our thing.
Yes, and again, for everybody out here who's listening to our presentation tonight, Gordon and I have a very long-term relationship. My first trip to South Africa was with his company, and his primary guide, Chris, were just amazing. And every single time that we do a program with Cape Scout, the reviews are resounding. Members come back who are world travelers and they just say, this was the best trip ever, the most life-changing trip ever, and the service and the expertise was like no other. So I know that I'm in a room with world travelers tonight, and I'm very excited to say that we have already encouraged 8 of our members to sign up. We only have 2 more spots left. And so I'm going to turn over to Gordon, let him show you what this is all about. So if you're on the cusp of deciding to do this, learn about it tonight, ask your questions. We're here for teaching. And even if tonight isn't your night to make a decision to do South Africa, we will do it again next year. Don't worry. So learn and decide if this is the kind of place for you. But I believe that for most of us here who are baby boomers, we're looking at what we can do to check off our bucket list. This is one of them. So Gordon, I'm going to go ahead and turn over to you. And thanks everybody for joining.
Thanks, Tammy, and hi to everyone. Yeah, like I said earlier, it's 2 a.m. in the morning here, so I was deciding whether to have a little snooze and then turn on the computer. I just couldn't do it, so I've pushed through. I'm here. Tomorrow's going to be, well, later today is going to be a bit of a struggle. But welcome everyone. Yeah, as Tammy says, we've been running this rodeo for nearly 20 years in Southern Africa, and there's very little we haven't done from south of the Sahara through Tanzania, gorillas in Uganda, and all the rest. But really, our focus has always been on South Africa, based in Cape Town, and running trips all the way up into Victoria Falls, etc. What we've always thought with the singles trip is to try and balance the sort of the time we have available for a lot of busy people, and really focus the trip on 3 areas. And the first one is Cape Town, which is the most international city in Africa. It's absolutely stunning place, lucky to call it home. And then we move into the wine country, which is just out of Cape Town, and we usually finish on a first class safari, and we'll go through the stages of those. And then this trip, as we have with many others, we add, for those who are interested, a little 2-night extension up to Victoria Falls, which is a pretty special place and often on people's bucket lists. It is one of the 7 natural wonders of the world, and it connects really nicely with KRUGER at the end of the trip. So I'm just gonna work through this quickly. I don't want to keep everyone too long, but there'll be plenty of time for questions at the end. And let's go. So the first face I've got to show you, unfortunately, is Chris. Chris is one of my best friends, and we've been working together for 16, 17 years. I think, Tammy, I think it was 2003, your first trip out here. I think everyone was had a little more hair. Well, I certainly did, and and yeah, we had a lot of fun in those days. And
yeah, I was gonna say, and Chris was single too.
Chris was single. Exactly. Yeah, so Chris is a pro. He's an absolute rock star. There's nothing that's too much trouble. I know it just a lot of people will ask the question at the end, what's safety like and all the rest. We take it very seriously. We work with not just the sort of single ladies, but we work with some of the biggest CEOs in the world, guys run biggest companies in the other part of our business, and a guy like Chris, who was an infantry officer and a professional safari guide. You know, he looks after everything from start to finish. So that's one little aspect of the trip that we take very, very seriously.
Gordon,
so Chris is our man on the ground.
I want to say something too. Like, one of the things that is so surprising for our members is that when they arrive in South Africa, we're met at the door of the aircraft.
Yeah. So we'll do that with all the international arrivals. In fact, if I click a slide, it'll tell us exactly that. So the trip starts on the 18th of November in Cape Town. If anyone wants to come in early, you're more than welcome to. We can arrange extra nights. If you've got a spare week and you want to do something extra and want to come in later, come in a few days earlier, we're more than happy to make those arrangements for you. Sometimes international flights come into Johannesburg. Often there's a better flight service and better pricing into Johannesburg. If that's your first international point, we'll meet you at the door at your first international arrival point. Someone will hold your hand and walk you all the way through immigration and customs, and either deliver you to the driver if it's a Cape Town flight, or put you on your connecting flight to Cape Town. And in Cape Town, you get met at the airport by your driver. So everyone gets completely personalized arrival to the hotel, and if it's on day one or if it's 5 days before, doesn't matter. We'll look after you on the way in. We've got 4 nights in the waterfront, which in fact this picture's cropped a bit, but the hotel's just left of the Cape Town Stadium there, about 50 yards left of where the picture's cropped, unfortunately. It's a 4-star hotel based in the waterfront. The waterfront complex is, as you would imagine, around most of the world, these new developments that have taken over city harbors. Amazing shopping, amazing restaurants, very safe, easy to walk around from your hotel to wherever you want. And it's a really nice base for the 4 days. We take care of breakfast daily, and we've got two dinners on the Cape Town portion, and 2 nights where you can stretch your legs and do whatever you want. Some people want to go find some fine dining. Some people just want to eat a pizza or take a night off. So that's up to you. The hotel, as I said, it's 4-star. It's recently been renovated just before COVID kicked in. So the place is nice and shiny. Perfect location, great value in the middle of the city. What we're going to do in Cape Town is really have 2 main full touring days. Again, Chris is with you all of these days. Day 1 will be spent in and around the city. It does depend on weather. If there's cloud about or high winds, we can't get up down. We may flip them around at short notice, but the general idea is that the first day is spent in the city. You acclimatize yourself. We go up Table Mountain, up the cable car. We pop into historic areas, the old slave quarters, the company gardens from the Dutch East India Company. Go across to the Atlantic seaboard, which you could see just behind the cable car there. And again, you know, there are these blocks of touring we like to do, but because we have the ability, we also like to freewheel a little bit. So we've got these key moments through the day, and then depending on the special interests of the group, depending on the weather, you know, we might shoot you somewhere that isn't on the list and do something that's not quite scheduled, but is a nice addition to the day. And I think, Tammy, that's what has surprised people over the years, is that it's sort of, you're not on a bus tour here. You know, you're on a really personalized trip where we can have a lot of fun at short notice. I think that's a key component of this experience.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also my personal experience, having gone with you a couple of times, is that with weather, you know, Table Mountain may not be accessible every day. So we are able to swap out the days so that we get the best experience. And I think that's very important for members to know, that that you guys are keeping an eye out for that experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. The second day, there's one of our previous guests. The baboons at Cape Point are fabulous fun. They'll steal your food if you give them half a chance. So day 2 takes us down the southern sort of behind Table Mountain. It's quite interesting. People see Table Mountain and think they're in the southern tip of Africa, so the mountain faces south. But in fact, the city is in a bay that turns north, and Table Mountain that you look at faces north. And if you're looking at Table Mountain, you're looking south. And so it's opposite to what you imagine. And behind Table Mountain is this magnificent mountain range that culminates in Cape Point, which is the most southwesterly point on the African continent. As you can see, stunning beaches, beautiful mountain roads. There's some vineyards, there are restaurants, amazing wildlife, and just a really fun day. It's quite a full day. We go early in the morning, and we generally loop down the western side of the peninsula and turn back and come up the eastern side. And if there's some time, we might stop at a wine farm and have some more wine. There's going to be no shortage of wine stops on your tour, I must warn you. And then we've got one last day in Cape Town, which we always do a 4-night stop, because we found that there are different personalities on the tour, and there is a lot of time spent together, and we do like to give just a little bit of time for guys to explore some things that may interest them personally. So that final day in Cape Town, the third day, is we do a morning tour, usually 9 o'clock. We go out from the waterfront, which is just under the mountain, and we come out, it's about 10 miles on the boat out to Robben Island. We explore what is now a World Heritage Site and the former prison colony of Nelson Mandela. And we're back in the waterfront by about 12:30, all things being equal. And then you have a free afternoon to go and explore. So some people want to shoot up and go and visit a restaurant they once heard of, or go to a picnic spot, or just do some shopping, or even sleep if they've had a few heavy nights. So that's also welcome. And then we meet again that evening and do a final dinner at we like to use Gold Restaurant, which is this amazing drumming African themed place close to the waterfront that just blows everyone's mind. So that's quite a fun evening. The Winelands is pretty close to Cape Town. That's our next stop. It's only an hour out of town, but it is a completely different world. So you go from this coastal region into this fertile wine region, which is as I say, the oldest of the New World wines. If you consider New World wines 1650, this is where the French, the Dutch, and then the French Huguenots first planted their. We like to use this day as an opportunity to go past a place called the Cheetah Outreach Program. Have I flipped my slides here? Sorry, I just had a little pause. We stay in what is called South Africa's second town, which is Stellenbosch, named after Simon van der Stel, who was one of the original governors of the Cape. And the hotel we're staying in is this magnificently renovated building in the middle of Stellenbosch town. Again, very easy walking around, a couple of interesting art galleries, and really neat little place to stay. A very historic little spot in the middle of Cape Town, and that's just 2 nights. So it's an hour out, and when on the way back, it's an hour to the airport. So it's not a massive 3-hour bus journey somewhere remote. Here, the renovated rooms in the hotel at Eau de Vaf, and yeah. So again, twins or singles, same size rooms, all en suite, breakfast daily, and again in Stellenbosch we'll do one dinner on our bill, and then you have a night to explore and do whatever you want on the second night. And there's a mix of things you can do there. So on that drive out to Stellenbosch, we usually like to take a detour, and we take you into the Cheetah Outreach Program, which is a great opportunity to see some of Africa's cats, some of the rare species you may not even see on safari. A little chance to meet the cats and all the rest. For those who want to, there is an extra charge to go and get photographs done and all the rest. But it's a fun experience. And again, we don't chase you, because you've had a couple of early mornings. We won't chase you out the hotel that early that morning. We'll take a nice slow drive and take you out to Stellenbosch. We do another little wine stop, little places of interest. Again, it's not a day that we go at 10 o'clock we're going here, at 11 o'clock we're going there. It's a freewheeling day that you're kept very busy and we kind of like to get you to the hotel by about 3 o'clock, and let you settle in, and again do a little walk through the town, go and grab something to eat, etc., etc. And then one of the big days, one of the highlight days, I think, of the trip is a full day wine touring. There's just a countless number of spectacular farms from Stellenbosch over the mountains into Franschhoek, which is the French corner, original French Huguenot town. We've got a wide array of farms from the very oldest to the very newest. And some really neat experiences there. And Chris is just an absolute master of taking control of that day. And by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you're ready to go home because you're going to be knackered. There's a fun little wine tram I've got a little picture of. Picks you up, takes you between wine farms. That's one way to do it. A nice lunch is included that day. And it really is a full day out. Tasting wines, exploring gardens, mooching around the town, galleries, special gardens, all the rest. So that's really fun. A really nice day.
Gordon, I kind of
So
remember
from the Winelands, we head to the airport in Cape Town.
I was sorry, I
Sorry, I
know
lost
we
you
have
there, Tammy.
a little bit of a delay, but I remember my visit to Franschhoek and how like old fashioned the little town was with the little general store, and we're drinking wine and everything is great, but it's kind of a walk back in time.
It is. There's look, it has probably jazzed up a little, but it's still a very quaint little place, and great fun. Yeah, and then so much to do, and so many points of interest on that little main street where you can keep busy for an hour or two without trying too hard. So this is my favorite part of the trip. I'm an absolute safari nut. I'm a former golf pro who's played all the great golf courses around the world. I'm going to the British Open in July, but you asked me to do anything and it's safari. I'm a safari guy. All the photos you're going to see now are my own photos from, in fact, just from the last trip I did to JOCK. So you'll see how much I enjoy it in the next couple of pages. But one of the things we do that's really nice about this is we get on the plane at Cape Town Airport, and it's a 2.5-hour flight directly into the KRUGER National Park, and we land at KRUGER Airport, which is inside the park. It's a little thatch roof. You walk in, you sign into the park. Your bags are sort of found in the car park. We load them on the 4-wheel drive vehicles, and we drive 40 minutes south through the park to the lodge. Very often, it's well, you can run into anything. We've seen lion and leopard and all kinds of things just driving from the airport to the lodge. KRUGER National Park is the biggest national park in Southern Africa. It's I think it's something like 4 times the size of, or it's the size of Wales, the country of Wales. Massive place. It's about 300 miles north to south, and 40 miles wide. And it's got everything, and it's absolutely magnificent. JOCK itself owns JOCK Safari Lodge has a very particular position in the park where it's got a private concession of about 15,000 acres, but it's also got full access to the rest of the park, which is a public park. But because it's so far from the nearest Campbell Gate, any potential day visitors have to be gone from that area by 5 p.m. to make sure they get out of the park in time and don't get fined. So you've actually got the whole of Southern KRUGER to yourself for a couple of hours every day. And it is absolutely the best kept secret in South Africa as a game lodge. I've been lucky. I've been there countless times. The guarding team is absolutely superb. The guys have, Lazarus and Micah and Jacob have been in that part of the world for the last 15, 20 years. They know it like the back of their hands. They understand the game. You can see the little vehicle that they're on. And that's your room. It's not too bad, I don't think. You've got indoor, outdoor showers, outside bath. Every room has a swimming pool. And it's just the most magnificent place to spend a few days. The dining is superb. It's a 5-star lodge. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. There's a high tea every day. All the drinks are included except for premium brands. So once you get on safari, everything is taken care of. Honestly, it's just fantastic. They have a mix of sort of safari boma food, what we'd call this here, where there's sort of barbecue cooking, African style barbecue cooking with veggies and roasted anything you want. And then on one of the other nights, there'll be a more sit down a la carte menu type experience. Really nice mix. If you look at the back on that photograph, there's little stairs going up. That is that's how you get to the pub. And we often sit there till midnight, drinking beers and watching animals in front of the lodge. Chris and I, on the last trip, had a rhinoceros sitting at the pool right in front of the lodge, and this massive male leopard just walked straight down, sort of 11 o'clock at night, just walked straight down, walked past the rhinoceros like it wasn't even there, looked at us and just carried on walking down the river without a sound. Quite amazing. So those are the kind of experiences that I like. So this picture, in fact, was taken, we were the last group. Excuse me, I'm going to take a sip of water. You can hear me struggling here.
No problem, Gordon. While you're taking a break for a second, oh my God, I have a leopard story, but I cannot express how different this experience is from any other vacation that I've had, where at any moment the animals become part of the experience. And Gordon was talking about the guides, but they also have trackers. And one of the things that when people ask me, why South Africa? Well, South Africa, even though the park is public, Gordon was explaining that JOCK Lodge, which is where we're going to be, so they have private access, and only the guests at our hotel will have access via the vehicle. So you saw in that one picture that in South Africa, the vehicles are open, which is quite different. And when you're going for your morning and your afternoon drives, we're the only ones out there. So we have prime experiences, and the trackers and the guides know exactly how to find the animals. And so I'll let Gordon continue, and then maybe tonight I'll share my leopard story with you. But go ahead, Gordon.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Yeah, so as Tammy said, on the concession, whereas inside the national park, you have to stick to the roads. On the concession, we can drive in the rivers. If there's a predator sighting that we can't get to from the roads, you are permitted to drive off-road and go and find that animal. So it's a really unique experience. This photograph, in fact, was taken the day before lockdown. We had the whole lodge as exclusive use in March 2020, and the country was locking down. We had to get people to the airport. And this is what we had on the way back from our drive, going back to the lodge for breakfast. And this little lady was sitting in the tree for me. And that picture is from maybe 20, 30 yards. This photo again, it's funny. I just remember every photo taken. This guy I took, he was the first animal we saw in our November trip from the airport. We drove out of the airport. This was the first animal before we saw an antelope or anything. This big male lion sitting on the side of the road, just doing absolutely nothing except seemingly waiting for us. So these kind of experiences, again, this is the perfect example where this is in the national park on the public road in the evening. There's not a public car in sight. We were the only people there. I think we had 22 lions in this pride. There's a few on the left still and a few on the right in the bush. Come around a corner, no one else there. Entire pride of lions to yourself for half an hour. Just absolutely mind-blowing. And there's a well-trained lion as well. And there's Chris on the back left. So you can see this is definitely our trip. There's Chrissy on the back left, trying not to get eaten, making himself less appealing than the guests, it seems, old Chris. So yeah, this was a big male lion, and this is only a couple of 100 yards from the lodge. This little leopard sitting in a tree. We don't often tell people, but I'm going to tell you because of the story. We often do a bush breakfast where we have breakfast out in the reserve under a big tree. The guys do a full fruit salad, bacon and eggs, the whole story in the bush just for us. And we couldn't that morning because this leopard was sleeping in the tree above the breakfast spot. So she's actually the daughter of that other leopard you saw earlier. Absolutely spectacular. Again, I must have been 5-6 yards when I took this picture. Just so relaxed, so used to vehicles, so used to people. Absolutely wild leopard, but just amazing. And there you can see on the left there's Micah and Phil and Lazarus, the head guide, a couple of our guests, and Chrissy on the right again. And there we are in the middle of the Beermeaty River, which is one of the major rivers of Kruger. My in-laws have been going to the Kruger Park for 45 years. They have driven over this river for 45 years, and last year I took them to Kruger for the first time where they could drive in the river, and it blew their mind, absolutely blew their mind. And we found, I mean, in these trees behind there, you'll find leopard, their lion that walk through, and all the rest. So anyway, that's a safari action. I'll spend all day on it. What we do is it's 3 nights. For those that are going to go to Victoria Falls at the end, you lose a drive in the morning of departure to Vic Falls because you've got to leave at 7 in the morning and change airports. For those who are going to only finish the trip in safari and go back to Johannesburg, you get the morning drive on safari, and then we fly you back to Johannesburg to connect to your international air. So that really is the highlight of the trip. It's just fabulous. So moving on, Victoria Falls. So 2 nights up in Victoria Falls. It's an interesting time of year. It is quite hot up there, and the waterfall isn't raging. So it's lower season on the water, but it's a mixed blessing because it actually allows you to see more of the waterfall, which is usually covered in smoke, and when the water is absolutely pounding, it's usually it's like being in a rainstorm when you go and see the falls and you can't see the other side. The smoke is so thick. But when we've got this in November, you do have lower water and you do have a few more activities available as well. So we have a guiding team, and he's also South African. So legally he's not allowed to guide in Zambia. So we've got a guiding team in Zambia who are absolute professionals and have also done work for us for nearly 20 years. Guys meet you after immigration, and we'll take you through to the hotel, which is located about 20 kilometers upstream from the falls itself. The afternoon is just a bit of R&R and a river cruise that goes onto the Zambezi River from the lodge. They've got their own boat, and we do a nice sunset cruise, some cocktails, a bit of food, and a relaxing evening. The next day we only plan, because people have different ideas of what they like and what they don't like. Sorry, there's the David Livingstone Safari Lodge again, right on the Zambezi River, one of Africa's great rivers, and full of crocodiles and hippos and lots of things to see on the Zambezi. You don't go skinny dipping. It doesn't matter how many Jaeger bombs you've had. That's one place you don't go skinny dipping. So, activity levels change so much, and people's fear of heights, fear of helicopters, all those things. So we're always reluctant to pre-plan too much at Victoria Falls. But we do include the river cruise, which everyone likes, and we do the private guided tour of the falls. There's an opportunity when you buy your visa at Livingstone Airport. You can either buy a single entry into Zambia. We recommend buying the slightly more expensive, what they call a CASA visa, which allows you access to Zimbabwe as well, which is just across the river. They do have a better view of the falls in November, and if we need to, we'll have the guides take you across the falls into Zimbabwe and see a bit more of the water action from that side of the falls. That's sort of done fairly early in the morning. We like to get it done early because it does get quite hot. And then, once you've signed up, speak to Tammy or to Vicky. and send through your sort of hit list of things you want to add to that experience. And those obviously come at an extra cost. The helicopter flip is amazing if you like helicopters. It's 25 minutes, takes you down. You know, the falls drop into a gorge, and the helicopter takes you down into the gorge, and lets you experience that. Takes you a little bit upriver to the national park. So often see elephant from the helicopter, which is pretty neat. And then one of the really, really special things, if you're brave enough, is the Devil's Pool. And in November it should be running. It's one of the benefits of the low water season, is you can go and swim right on the edge of Victoria Falls, like these folk. If you're not that brave, there's a magnificent island that sits just off the edge of the falls, where you can go and have lunch or book cocktails in the afternoon. We can do something maybe once everyone's who's decided to go to Vic Falls, we can decide on adding those little activities. So it's just 2 nights. It really is. It's one of those things that if you've always wanted to see Vic Falls, it's definitely worth doing. And if you've got more time, we can add other experiences down into the Chobe in Botswana, or the Okavango Delta. You know, I don't know who's got another week to spare, but if you do, there are things to do. We can keep you very busy for another week on safari in that part of the world. And that's pretty much it. We have one more night. Dinner again is included at the lodge. So that basis is breakfast and dinner. Drinks are on your own bat, and so is lunch. So it's breakfast and dinner at the hotel. And then the next morning would just be a very casual morning. Leave for the airport around 10:30 in the morning, and if you booked your flight, it's going at about 1 o'clock and down to Johannesburg. Once you're down in Johannesburg, again, we'll grab you from the plane, and we make sure you get to your connecting flight, or to your driver, or to your hotel, or whatever you're planning to do that day. So that's it, guys. That's all I've got for you. It was a quick run through. As Tammy knows, if anyone's got a question, I'd much rather ask the question even on email. It doesn't matter how stupid it is, rather than Googling and finding out info that doesn't apply to your tour. Rather send Tammy a mail, or send me a mail, and I'll happily answer it. I don't mind how silly it is, or how, don't be scared of annoying me. I'd rather give you the right information up front, so that we're all on the same page. Tammy, that's it. I don't know if you've got anything to add at this point, but
well,
that's
Gordon,
me done.
thank you so much. And the photos were wonderful. And I want to express one sentiment to everybody here tonight. And that is that Gordon lives there. He has experiencing these things. I have 100 stories of how amazing this experience it was. And I'm just going to share 2 very quickly right now. But, when I was on the Zambezi sunset cruise, Gordon, I will never forget, and everybody should know in the room that I'm not an animal guy. I don't have a dog. I don't have a cat. I have no animals. Okay. So this trip changed my life. And when I was doing that Zambezi River sunset cruise, there was an entire family of elephants that were kind of, I don't know, you're the expert, you can tell me what they were doing, but they were like navigating the water. And there was, the biggest one was in the front, all the way down to the baby. It was almost like a little stacked character, like a figurines of all
Sorry,
these elephants.
Tammy, I think you're breaking up.
I probably am, so I can't change that. But
Okay.
at the very end was this tiny baby elephant, and he kept like putting his, what do you call them, paws, Gordon? But his front
His feet. His feet.
On his
feet. And a little trunk up on his.
Yeah, on his bigger brother or sister. And he kept slipping. And the brother and sister, whatever, would turn around and help him. And he was like, it was the most adorable thing I'd ever seen. And so, I know that you live there and you've seen all these things, and you've shown us some beautiful pictures here, but I just want to express to everybody that you're going to have the most personal experiences with God's creatures in Africa that you've never imagined. So with that, I'm going to do a Q&A, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm turning off our recording. So I want to welcome everybody and thank everybody who is here tonight and who is watching our video. I'm going to turn this off and invite you to try South Africa, whether this year or next year with Singles Travel International. And